Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty snap a 5-day losing streak thanks to positive global cues, but the gains are limited and the Nifty remains below its 200-day moving average. The Indian rupee continues to weaken against the dollar, hitting another record low in trade today. The rupee has depreciated 2% against the greenback in 2024 so far. Israeli forces continue to pound Gaza. 11 people killed in multiple airstrikes, including one targeting a refugee camp. Israel orders the closure of one of the last functioning hospitals in northern Gaza. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump threatens to retake control of the Panama Canal, slams the transit fee charged as ridiculous. Panama defends the fee and says its sovereignty is not renegotiable. The U.S. has given control of the waterway to Panama 45 years ago. Japanese auto majors Honda and Nissan formalized the plan to initiate merger talks, signaling a potential reshaping of the global automotive industry. A deal will create the world's third largest auto group after Toyota and Volkswagen. Growth in the FMCG sector slowed to 4.3% between August to October. As per a Kantar report, volume growth in rural India remains below urban India, where there are signs of a pickup after 3 quarters of a slowdown. Legitimate dissent and criticism cannot be equated with sedition or anti-national acts, says the Rajasthan High Court, as it red flags the reintroduction of sedition laws by another name in the new criminal code. The court observes the law cannot become a tool to suppress dissent. Quick, quicker, quickest. Q-commerce companies up the ante as the consumer expectations keep expanding. 2024 was the year of quick commerce boom. Will 25 be the year of the acid test? A special report coming up. Well, let's start with the market action of the day. The Lal Street snapping a 5-day losing streak thanks to positive global cues. The Sensex and the Nifty gained nearly 500 points, and the Nifty gained over 160 points today as it remains below the 200-day moving average. A 500-point gain on the Sensex. The Nifty Bank also putting on about 1%, and the mid-cap index, while closing flat for the day. That was the picture as far as our markets are concerned. Surabhi is standing by now to wrap up the market action. Surabhi, not a bad start to the week.
Well, it was finally a positive comeback by the bulls after serious dropping, the 5% fall that the Nifty saw yesterday. And it was all thanks to the fact that consumer inflation in the US, the PCE index, that came in softer than expectations. So it began a relief rally actually across the board in global markets, starting with the US, and the dollar also cooled off a little bit. The Nifty did attempt that recovery towards the 200 DMA. Smart gains of almost 0.7% coming through today. And it was a fairly widespread move, you would have to say, in terms of at least sectors. There was the steel pack, which was excited also, not just because of the global factors, but because of the hope of some sort of safeguard duty being implemented by India on dumping from China. The oil and gas space looked quite promising. Consumer stocks were leading the gains as well. And banks actually did much better. The Nifty Bank was up 1%, outperforming the Nifty itself. So let's talk about the gainers. They come from all the sectors that I just mentioned. So, for instance, the JSW Steel, ITC, Hindalco, IndusInd Bank. There was Trent, which was the Nifty winner for the long time today. HDFC Bank, ONGC and RIL. RIL reacting quite well to a Morgan Stanley note, which is saying that the new year, 2025, will be good for Reliance's traditional oil and gas business. The losers included some auto names like Hero MotoCorp and Maruti. There was some profit-taking on HDFC Life and also Bajaj Finserv. Now, the mid-cap market is still a problem because that's where things are still very fragile after Friday's big crack that showed up. And today, the mid-cap index was underperforming the Nifty and the Bank Nifty throughout the session, and the market breadth was still negative, with almost 2 stocks declining for every one that was advancing. So that still remains a worry point and a watch point. Some of the interesting movers today included India Cements, where the Competition Commission has approved the takeover from Ultratech. The open offer is coming in at a price which is higher than the current market price. So that stock was really excited. SAIL, Mankind Pharma, Torrent Power, Amber was up about 13% or so. Sundaram Finance did really well. I just want to sort of point out the specific moves on insurance plays, both health insurance and life insurance. It's very clear that there is a longer wait now with the GST Council deferring any sort of rate change decisions on either life or health, and that weighed on the stocks to some extent. And finally, Zomato, it makes its debut on the Sensex today, but there was some profit-taking after the dream run that stock has seen. Holiday shortened week, slightly lower on volumes, but the bulls will take the green with both hands.
Surabhi, many thanks. In the money market, the rupee hitting another record low in trade today. It weakened by about 10 paise in trade as it remains firmly above the 85 mark against the dollar. And this despite the fact that the dollar index declined over the weekend. The rupee has depreciated by over 2% this year so far. And bond prices remain largely steady. The government's 10-year bond yield is softened by 40 basis points in 2024. In international news, Israeli forces continue to pound the Gaza Strip. 11 people were killed in multiple airstrikes, including one targeting a refugee camp. Israel has also ordered the closure of one of the last functioning hospitals in northern Gaza. The director of the hospital says it is next to impossible to empty the facility as nearly 400 patients are inside. This includes newborn babies who need oxygen and incubators. From one war zone to another, the Ukrainian Air Force has said that it successfully intercepted 47 out of 72 Russian drones overnight. It added that 25 more failed to reach the target. Ukrainian authorities also claim to have repelled attacks in 9 regions, including Kyiv. Meanwhile, Russia said that its army captured 2 more villages in East Ukraine. In the commodity market, oil prices remain largely firm, with Brent trading below the $75 mark. The U.S. government data shows inflation has cooled further, and this has sparked hopes of further policy easing by the U.S. Fed in the new year. Crude oil prices, meanwhile, on track to end the year with cuts of about 5%, and gold prices are largely flat as the yellow metal is on track to end the year with gains of 27%. Bitcoin prices are also attempting to rebound after hitting $93,000 last week. Bitcoin has been among the top gaining assets this year, rallying over 125%. Back home, steel stocks were buzzing in trade today. This after the Director General of Trade Remedies initiated a safeguard investigation on imports of steel products. The industry has been complaining about alleged dumping of Chinese steel and called for the import duty to be hiked from the current 10% to as high as 25%. Now, once the probe is complete, DGTR will make its recommendations to the Finance Ministry, which will then take the final decision on levy of import duties.
This issue definitely impacts us also because a lot of cheap imports are coming, particularly from China as well as from FTA countries. Now, because of this, the availability of the material goes up in the market at much lower cost, which is definitely impacting our margins as well as our volume. Even though the passenger car industry, two-wheeler industry, they are doing well, but then the volume for specialty steel long product manufacturers are not much. We produce engineering steel long products, and that definitely has a big impact on the way dumping is happening in the country. Not only dumping, the metal is coming at a very low price.
Now, the 55th meeting of the GST Council in Rajasthan's Jaisalmer decided to hit the pause button on taking a call on reducing GST on insurance premium. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the group of ministers will take a look at the issue after receiving inputs from the insurance regulator. Remember, this has been on the high-profile GST issues that has been on the docket for over a year. States have also rejected a proposal to bring aviation turbine fuel under the GST ambit. This despite requests from the Aviation Ministry and industry from time to time. Now, the GST Council did take a host of decisions. A GST of 18% will be applied on the profit margin when it comes to the sales of second-hand small cars, including electric vehicles. This, however, applies to only registered dealers. Earlier, profit margins were taxed at 12%. The GST Council also provided clarity on popcorn taxation. Take a look.
जब पॉपकॉर्न सॉल्टेड सिर्फ नहीं है, उसमें कैरामलाइज्ड पॉपकॉर्न भी मार्केट में आता है एडेड शुगर के साथ। पॉपकॉर्न का ट्रीटमेंट में जब तक वो नमकीन है, सॉल्टेड है, मसाला एडेड है, चटपटा मसाला है, चिली पाउडर है, कुछ हो, वो सब 5%, am I right? 5%. But when it has added caramelized sugar, it is no longer नमकीन, इसीलिए उसका रेट अलग है।
Well, yes, popcorn is no longer just a snack. It's now a tax drama that's stirring up debates and memes across India. Now, the GST Council recently clarified how different types of popcorns are taxed, and the result is a recipe of sweet, salty, and downright confusing slabs. So let's break it down. If you're grabbing loose salted popcorns from a local vendor or at the cinema, it's taxed at 5% GST. Opt for a pre-packaged and labeled salted popcorn from a supermarket, and you're paying 12% GST on that. But indulge in a fancy sweet caramelized popcorn and you'll shell out a hefty 18% GST. Now, why is that? Because it's classified as sugar confectionery product under GST rules. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman explained the reasoning behind this. Since caramel popcorn contains added sugar, it doesn't qualify as a traditional namkeen or snack. Instead, it enters the higher tax bracket of sugary delights. But popcorn isn't just a cinema side munchie, by the way. It's a booming industry. Back in 2021, the Indian popcorn market was valued at a whopping topping 1,000 crore rupees, growing at an impressive CAGR of 14% from 2016 to 2021. And there's no stopping this trend also. Projections from the industry show that the market will expand at a CAGR of 7.11% from 2024 to 2032. So it is a big market, but the tax is still confusing to many. Back to you.
Shivani, many thanks. Much ado about popcorn. Now, Larsen & Toubro said it's won a major order for the supply of K9 Vajra artillery platform to the Indian Army. The company classifies a major order as one that has a value between 5,000 crore rupees and 10,000 crore rupees. L&T had won an order for the first batch of 100 K9 Vajra T platform in 2017 through global competitive bidding and after successful field evaluation. Shares of Bharti Airtel ending in the green after it added more than 19 lakh subscribers in October. Reliance Jio maintained a lead in terms of market share despite losing over 37 lakh users during the month. Vodafone Idea lost nearly 20 lakh subscribers, while state-owned BSNL added 5 lakh subscribers in October on the back of its 4G rollout. It's been more than 16 months since Parliament passed the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, but there is still no clarity on when the draft rules will be unveiled. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology recently informed Parliament that the drafting of the rules is in the final stages. Industry has been clamouring for clarity on the functioning of the Data Protection Board and the process for users to seek data collected by companies. They also want clarity on the grievance redressal mechanism and parental consent in case of minors. Now, growth in the FMCG sector slowed to 4.3% between August to October, according to a report by Kantar. Volume growth in rural India remains below urban India, where there is a sign of a pickup after 3 quarters of a slowdown. Shilpa is standing by with more details. Shilpa.
Well, here's yet another report that is suggesting that there is a slowdown in the FMCG sector overall. Now, Kantar, in its quarterly FMCG Pulse, has said that the growth slowed down to about 4.3% against a 6.4% in the same period in the last quarter. And it's also slower than a 4.5% growth that was seen in the quarter that went by. Let me just clarify here that Kantar has taken an August to October quarter here in its report, where it's the period in which it's measuring this growth. Now, this report also reflects the urban slowdown that everyone's been talking about. In fact, urban saw about a 4.5% volume growth. This is versus nearly 7% growth that it saw in the same period last year. Now, Kantar says that, on the face of it, this definitely looks like a slowdown, and the slowing of growth in this momentum is extremely rare. In fact, it says that over the last 5 years, this has only happened in the quarters of 2024 so far. And the reason for this is, rising prices. Inflation is pinching the pockets of urban consumers as well. Look at the data that it has put out. Shoppers have paid 133 rupees per kg of FMCG goods on an average in the past quarter, but this has risen to about 137 rupees per kg of FMCG goods that consumers had to pay for in urban India in the August to October quarter. And Kantar says that this kind of growth in a single consecutive quarter was only seen in the initial months of 2022, where we had seen very high inflation levels. Now, per household average quarterly spend also has grown 13% for consumers in the last 2 years, and it now stands at about 6,761 rupees. In fact, this had crossed the 6,000 levels for the first time only in the quarter of, in the October quarter of 2022. So as you can see, that the rising prices is what really causing the slowdown, and they say that this is reflective of the CFPI that we saw for October 2024, which was about 11.1%, and with no signs of inflation relenting in the immediate future, Kantar says that it is hard to expect urban to grow any faster than what it is growing currently, and it expects similar growth levels for the first half of 2025 as well. If you look at rural, in fact, rural also, Kantar says, is actually underperforming. It grew 4% in volumes, which is actually slower than the 4.5% growth that urban has seen, and this is led by atta. Why atta? Because atta is actually a high volume and frequently purchased category in rural, and a lot of it tends to come in free grains. So even including atta, if the growth is slower than urban, that reflects some sort of a slowdown. However, there is some optimism that Kantar is seeing in rural because of the government focus, and that the agriculture industry is expected to grow, and with the government focus, they expect a growth to pick up and see a sustainable growth levels for rural in the coming year as well. But as things stand now, they definitely are pointing out to a slowdown due to rising prices. Back to you.
All right. Shilpa, many thanks for joining us. Now, US President-elect Donald Trump has threatened to regain control of the Panama Canal. He accused Panama of charging exorbitant prices to American shipping and naval vessels and said that this will need to stop immediately. Panama's President Jose Raul Molino hit back at Trump, saying every square meter of the canal belongs to his country. He asserted that Panama's sovereignty and independence were non-negotiable. Donald Trump has also named Indian-American entrepreneur Sriram Krishnan as senior White House policy advisor on artificial intelligence. Krishnan was born in Chennai, studied BTech in information technology at the SRM University, and of course helped Elon Musk after his Twitter acquisition. He will work closely with Silicon Valley veteran David Sachs in the Trump administration on artificial intelligence. Elon Musk on social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, has announced a hike in subscription charges for its premium customers in India by up to 35%. The monthly subscription fee for premium customers has gone up to 1,750 rupees from 1,300 rupees. The updated pricing system came into effect from the 21st of December. Existing customers will have to pay the new rate in their next billing cycle. Musk cited 3 reasons for the hike in subscription price: zero ads, supporting content creators, and adding new features on the platform. That's a pretty steep hike there coming in for X users. Time now for a break. But 2024 was the year of quick commerce. Companies up the ante as consumer expectations keep expanding. Will 2025 be the acid test? A special report. Meta's WhatsApp has secured a big win in its fight against Israel's NSO group over the misuse of Pegasus spyware. A US court has ruled that NSO is liable for hacking WhatsApp and breaching a contract with the app. Remember, WhatsApp had alleged that NSO illegally used its servers for surveillance of several mobile phones. Ashmit is standing by with the details. Ashmit, what has the US court said and the implications of this case?
Well, it appears to be a scathing indictment as far as the conduct of NSO is concerned. The question that was raised by WhatsApp in 2019 essentially is that alleged that NSO has been using WhatsApp servers for injecting its spyware Pegasus to WhatsApp consumers, WhatsApp users, over 1,400 of them, and that has been channeling back information from those devices back to its customers, back to the NSO customers. The question whether or not NSO is doing this has been answered by the US court with an unequivocal yes. The US court holding that interesting facts and details have emerged, saying that yes, indeed, Pegasus had been doing that. NSO rather had been doing that. NSO's defense that it's not really us, it's our clients that's been doing it, has not managed to cut any ice with the US court. As far as the modus operandi that was being used, the SOP that was being used, it has come to light, courtesy these US court proceedings, that NSO had reverse engineered a specialized WhatsApp application, which was a derivative of the original WhatsApp application. This derivative WhatsApp application was then used by the NSO customers for injecting their targets with the Pegasus virus, and it is through that same route that the information from the target devices would travel back to the NSO customers. The US court will now decide on damages that NSO is now required to pay as far as WhatsApp is concerned. As far as the India picture is concerned, bear in mind that in 2021, reports had emerged that over 300 persons had been targeted, persons including politicians, ministers, people of academia, of journalists had been targeted. There was a Supreme Court inquiry, but importantly, no concrete details had emerged whether there was any links with the Indian government using the spyware.
All right, Ashmit, appreciate you joining us. Now, 2024 has been about putting more than just a convenience store at your fingertips and about delivery within 10 minutes. It's been about the meteoric rise of quick commerce with apps like Blinkit, Zepto and Instamart stealing the limelight, and entrepreneurs and investors wanting a piece of the action. On our ongoing series, Rewind 2024, Shilpa Ranipeta reports that while 2024 was the year of quick commerce, 2025 will be the year of the survivor.
First, they said no one wants delivery in 10 minutes. Then a few players offered it anyway and spoiled the Indian consumer. As the year progressed, everyone wanted everything in under 10 minutes. Groceries, iPhones, flowers, party hats and decorations, juicers, speakers, shoes, jewelry, even bed sheets.
Or is their expectations just keep expanding. They just keep going higher and higher. And now we're starting to look at consumers wanting things in 10 minutes, but now it's also wanting a lot more things in 10 minutes. and maybe even like wanting their food in 10 minutes. So bed sheets was 3 months back. It was the most searched, like, let's say, more searched with less selection than what consumers wanted. So that's an example. Like, you would wonder why people want bed sheets in 10 minutes, but they want it.
The Indian consumer loved it. Blinkit, for instance, delivered nearly 93 million orders in the second quarter alone, and Instamart fulfilled nearly 70 million orders. And so 2024 became the year of the quick commerce boom. Zomato's Blinkit and Swiggy's Instamart have been growing in triple digits and are growing nearly 6 times faster than their food delivery businesses. The numbers did not go unnoticed by investors. While Zomato's stock has surged 137% between the 1st of January and the 17th of December, Swiggy's 11,300 crore IPO in November was subscribed 3.6 times. It listed at an 8% premium to its issue price despite a muted market, and as of mid-December is up 52% off its lows. CLSA expects it to rise an additional 32% to over 700 rupees per share. Zepto, on its part, is the highest funded startup in India, having raised $1.35 billion in 2024 alone. It is currently processing over 7 lakh orders a day. Small wonder then that a slew of existing e-commerce players are jumping onto the bandwagon. Flipkart has launched Minutes, Myntra has launched M-Now, Amazon is testing Tez, and Big Basket also pivoted to quick commerce.
Last year was about 100% for the category itself. This year, I think quick commerce will grow by 50 to 70%. And over the next 2 to 3 years, I don't see this pace of growth slowing down.
Right.
It should continue to grow at about 30, 40, 50% CAGR over the next 3 years. All quick commerce players are experimenting and trying to figure out what are the other products that you can add on. So a lot of experiments are going on.
Experts say that given a massive total addressable market, the increased competition will not be a problem, provided companies can execute at scale.
I think it's a good thing. A lot of the innovation happens when there is more competition. I feel that there are going to be a lot of players. There are going to be players that are going to be specialists in certain areas. And I think this is a very, very large space as compared to food delivery, so it should be able to support multiple successful companies.
It may boil down to how much these companies are willing and able to do to survive. Blinkit, Instamart and Zepto, after all, are yet to turn profitable, though they are headed in that direction. But similar apps like Joker, Fridge No More, Bike have failed even in a large market like the US.
It comes in and just starts randomly, discounting, which has happened historically in the past without naming names. Then we think it's like a death knell. That's like the worst way to get market share because it's not even long term. You're not going to be able to hold on to that market share when you eventually do pull the plug.
As 2025 dawns, quick commerce companies are trying to get food and drinks delivered to consumers within 10 minutes, and that will be the next frontier.
These quick commerce players are also testing features like quick returns, pay later, and EMI options to make 10-minute delivery accessible and appealing to more. So 2025 could well be the year the quick commerce model will be put to test, and the company that manages to keep costs in check and turn profitable while keeping up with the ever-changing expectations of the impatient and spoiled consumer will determine who emerges a survivor. In Mumbai, Shilpa Ranipeta.
And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment with more.